Hey, good evening. Welcome in to a special edition of Power Mizzou Live. You're going to get a lot of these over the next. Well, I shouldn't promise a lot. You're going to get quite a few in the next week, and then we will see where it goes after that. Gabe DeArmond in Columbia, Drew King with us from a Hilton property somewhere in Nashville, Tennessee, after a nice 7-hour drive. Before we get into this, let you know that all of our preview shows over the next week or so are going to be brought to you by our friends at Cornerstone Family Medicine. Check them out, cornerstonefmclinic.com. Basically, they can replace or at least help, mitigate high insurance costs, ER visits, things like that. If you have trouble getting in to see a provider, they provide 24/7 virtual access, and you can get in, see somebody that day or the next day. cornerstonefmclinic.com. Drew, any need for you to go see a medical provider due to exhaustion yet?
Not quite. I just got here, so I think I'm good
Right.
at the moment.
Yeah.
Ask me again when I get back from Nashville, and then we'll.
Yeah. Well, Drew waited for a phone call from Tamar Bates at about 10:30 this morning. Got that done. Hit the road for Nashville about 11:45. Got into your hotel room about 25 minutes ago. So you've had plenty of time to set up and get ready.
Yeah, for sure. I also like, Gabe, that we didn't plan this at all, but we are matching on the show today.
Same color. Yeah. I wore a hat to distinguish myself because otherwise, with all the hair I have, people might not be able to tell us apart. They might think it was like a father-son show or something.
Right.
So, all right. I'm just going to start with a comment here because this kind of sums up today. LSU blows. Yeah, I feel like when a team goes into a postseason tournament, a conference tournament, and you're not going anywhere unless you win the whole thing, they can react one of two ways. They can play their asses off and go on a run, or they can just go, thank God it's finally over. It appears LSU is very thankful this is finally over because they are down. Hey, they've cut it.
I was going to say
closer. They're down 16 with 18 and a half minutes to go.
I was going to say that the comeback has started. But yeah, I obviously haven't gotten to watch any of the games today. I've been on the highway. And literally just got to my hotel room, and LSU cut it to 15 now. So listen, chipping away at it here. We might be having a very different conversation by the time this show is over, Gabe.
Yeah, look, we have seen today 20 points is not necessarily an insurmountable lead in the second half of the SEC tournament. We'll talk about that in a minute. But obviously, look, the reason we're talking about this one, the winner of this is who Missouri plays tomorrow night. So like we talked about on Monday, you actually do want it to be Mississippi State. Like that gives you a chance at a quality win, whereas LSU gives you almost nothing other than the chance at a bad loss. So you want Mississippi State to get there, but in an ideal world, Dennis Gates is watching this game tonight thinking, I'd really like LSU to get close, push them. Make Mississippi State have to work in the second half. Don't give Josh Hubbard the last 10 minutes off in this game.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the thing is fatigue's going to kind of play a role in some of these games. And so if Josh Hubbard doesn't have to play the last 10 minutes, he's still going to be fresh after scoring 20 points against LSU. So that's probably not ideal, but like you said, Mississippi State is the matchup that you want in this instance because most people got you on the 7th seed line right now, and you're trying to move up off of that so that you don't have to play a 2 seed in the second round of the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, and Marcus says, we hope for overtime, so State is tired. Yes, you hope for 6 overtimes if you can. I'm sure people who cover Oklahoma and Georgia are not hoping for that because that game goes later. I will tell you that this is the third game of the day. Neither of the first two finished within 2 hours. So, it's just that's the good part about covering the first game of a session. It's going to start on time. You have no idea when it's going to end. But, yeah, you want Mississippi State to have to work as hard as possible to win this game. And I've watched a little of this game, not a ton. I missed the one game I did not watch at all this year was Missouri's win in Starkville. What should concern Missouri about this Mississippi State team?
So kind of like I just mentioned, Josh Hubbard is pretty clearly in a rhythm. He wasn't too much of a factor that first time around. I think that the fact that LSU is only shooting 23% from three is a little bit concerning if you're Mizzou, just because like that was something that really helped them in that first game, which was a 27-point win for Missouri. And then obviously like Cam Matthews and Michael, I don't know how to say his last name, Nwoko. I hope that's right.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Sure,
okay.
Let's go with it.
Pretty good defenders in the front line, right? Cam Matthews obviously made the All SEC team, so you do have to kind of be concerned a little bit because, like I said earlier this week, I think that Mark Mitchell is the guy that has to lead the way for you, and so if he's having to get matched up with Cam Matthews and Nwoko, like it might not be a great night for him, and somebody else is going to have to step up. And then obviously, like I think all the defensive attention has to go toward Josh Hubbard. And Trey Johnson kind of showed earlier today, like if you've got one guy who can get hot, that's kind of all you need in March right now. So, I think that's kind of the main two things with Mississippi State.
I found it interesting. They talked to Chris Jans with, I don't know, a few minutes left in the first half. And, they were talking quite a bit about how he told his team that their defense hasn't been good enough. That's like Mississippi State has kind of been known for that over the years. Now I understand they've changed coaches and all that. And this Mississippi State team was a little bit different, but the concern for them coming into this game, I think, is the defense. LSU started the game 5 of 5 in the paint. Obviously slowed down considerably. I don't think really scored for the last 7 minutes or so of the first half. But, so like Missouri should be able to score, but Missouri's been able to score all year. That's not really the concern in this one, right? It's can you stop kind of the inside out combination? I mean, I don't think outside of Hubbard, I don't think Mississippi State's a great 3-point shooting team at all. No. So if they come out and suddenly are hitting 3-pointers, then that's going to concern you early on. No question.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of to your point, Gabe, their 3-point defense has been second worst in league play. They're allowing SEC opponents to shoot 37.5%. Mississippi State is, right? But it's kind of everywhere else, or that's kind of what's brought their defensive rating down this season, right? So, but like I said, the fact that they've kind of held LSU to a low percentage, that's kind of where I would say the most concerning thing is for Missouri, right? Because you're going to need that floor spacing to help Mark Mitchell out inside.
Yeah. Also want to let you guys know that this is not going to be like an hour-long show. This is a 20 to 30-minute show. Just kind of get you set for tomorrow. We're going to do a full post-game show tomorrow night. So if you've got questions, anything you want to throw in the chat, Billy will just throw it up as we're going along, and we'll react to it as we go. Because, Drew's got a preview to write. I'm going to write something up on the Mississippi State we assume win after this, and obviously Missouri plays tomorrow. So first two games of the day. Arkansas, and I know, Drew, I alerted you. You turned it on your phone at some point, I think, in Southern Illinois. Arkansas looked really good, up 20 points, and then all of a sudden just looked awful, long enough that if they were playing anybody but South Carolina, they would have blown the game. Arkansas Ole Miss will start things at noon tomorrow. Then, Vandy's still in the tournament, right?
In the NCAA tournament, yeah.
Well, I know they're not in the SEC tournament.
I was going to say.
They in Texas, but, that wasn't bad enough that they fall out by any means, do you think?
Right. I don't think so. They're still a 20-win team in the SEC. I think it would take honestly, we'll see what Oklahoma and Georgia do, but I think they're still pretty ahead of those two teams. Yeah. So I would still give them the nod over whoever loses in that matchup.
And still give them the nod over Texas too.
Yeah, that too. So yeah, I think that Vandy's still in a pretty good situation, even with the upset loss.
My biggest takeaway, like Ron says, Colin Murray-Boyles, dude, he should have been first team All SEC. I understand he's on a 2-16 team. He's one of the 5 best players in this league. Every time I've seen him for the past month, he's been awesome.
Yeah, I agree with you. Actually, I'm going to look up to see where he's going to get drafted because, like, he's that kind of a guy, in my opinion, where if, like, the Spurs are going to be, like, late lottery, I'm kind of looking at Colin Murray Boyles right now because I think that he really is a good player. But, shoot, South Carolina, like, was in it because of him, right? Like, he was the one leading the charge in that comeback.
Right.
So, like, kind of like you said, when a team goes into the tournament in a situation where you're not going to go dancing, and you can have kind of 2 responses. Credit to South Carolina for having like a positive response and trying to get this thing going. Unlike what LSU seems to be doing.
And credit to Colin Murray Boyles, who could barely walk in that game and was still out there. Bill, if we can, okay, so I'm going to break some news here to you, Drew, because I don't know that you saw the end of this game. Like, I had flipped away because Arkansas was up 6 with 17 seconds left. And then somebody said, hey, turn it back. So I turned back. It's a 2-point game with 8 seconds left. Did you see John L. Davis at the free throw line to ice the game?
I did not, no.
Okay. So John L. Davis goes to the line with 2.5 seconds left. Arkansas is up 2. He makes the first one. He tried to intentionally miss the second one with a 3-point lead with 2.5 seconds left. Banked it in, got lucky. Calipari said after the game, he told him to miss it. Like, it's the most brain dead thing I've ever, like, literally, if he makes that free throw, there is 0% chance they lose. If he misses it, South Carolina had a timeout. They could have gotten a rebound, called timeout, and made a 3. I mean, it was like, can you imagine if they had missed the NCAA tournament because of that? They would have deserved it, honestly.
Yeah, I don't get that idea.
Nobody got it.
He didn't explain why. He just said, yeah, I told him to do that.
He may have explained it. I don't know. Basically said they got lucky. But like, it just, on no level did it make any sense, which is just another reminder. Like, these dudes, I don't know, man. Sometimes they lose their mind. Go ahead.
By the way, I got Colin Murray Boyles. He is ranked 18th on ESPN's NBA draft big board right now. So,
okay,
pretty close to a lottery pick.
Yeah, there you go. Where do the Spurs pick?
The Spurs have their own pick, which is going to be top 10, and then they also have Atlanta's pick, which, depending on if they make the playoffs or not, will be kind of 13, 14, 16, 17, something like that.
Okay, so Mississippi State up right now, 51-36. They've only scored 7 points in the second half, but I don't know. They're up 15 points on LSU. I don't really see that changing a whole lot. So do you put stock into the idea that, like, it's actually maybe good? Look, nobody that played today is going to win this tournament, right? But I think at least one of them could win tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, do you like the idea that it's good to get in and get a game in? Like, are the teams tomorrow at a disadvantage?
Right. Well, we kind of saw that in like the college football playoff, right? And obviously it's a little different because there's a week between games, right. But the teams who were playing earlier on didn't have the rust coming in that all of the teams that had the bye did. And so there might be some of that going into tomorrow's games and the day after that as well, where like, especially if you're in the top 4, you've had a layoff longer than any other you've pretty much had in SEC play aside from the bye week. So, I think that there is something to that where you can get into a rhythm by winning some of these games earlier in the bracket.
Yeah, I will say also, like, and this is the big difference in football and basketball. I mean, like, I don't know that the teams playing tomorrow, Missouri, Kentucky, A&M, Ole Miss, I don't know that they got like a shoot around in Bridgestone Arena because, I mean, that thing's in use. They didn't get to go over there and practice today. And hey, you understand the basket's still 10 feet tall, the court's still 94/50, all that. But like, it is different playing in that arena than it is some of the places these guys have played all season. It's bigger, the shooting lines. division, everything's going to be a little bit different. So, I do think there's something to now. I'm not saying it's an excuse to lose, but like I wouldn't be at all surprised the first few minutes tomorrow night for these teams that played tonight to look a little bit better than the teams that are sitting around getting some rest.
Can you repeat that for me, Gabe? I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, just I wouldn't be at all surprised with the, if the teams tonight look better in the first 5-10 minutes of tomorrow night's game than the teams that are not playing.
Right. Yeah. Dennis Gates kind of talked about that yesterday, where like they don't really get a chance to practice at all in Nashville. They get some shoot around time just to kind of settle in and get comfortable, but they don't even know who they're playing yet. I mean, they might now, but as of an hour ago, they probably didn't really know who they were going to play. So he talked about how a lot of the preparation has just been focusing on themselves, right? He's talked about how they're fouling too much. They obviously probably need to do a better job on the rebounds as well. So I'm sure that that's something that's being addressed. But a lot of it has to be, he called it a self-assessment. And a lot of it was taken care of in Mizzou or in Missouri. Now that they're in Nashville, they can focus on who they're going to play, but it's not a lot of on-court time to do it. So that's going to be kind of the challenge for Missouri right now. By the way, I found the John Calipari quote if you want it.
Okay, what did he say?
All right, he said, "I've done that before. You're up 3 and there's 2 seconds to go. Miss it. By the time they get it, there's a second. Now, the other side of that is, what if they throw one deep and bank it in? I do some unconventional stuff."
So here's what I heard in that quote. I was stupid before, so I'll just be stupid again.
Yeah.
What are we doing? This is that's how there's no way you can lose if you're ahead by 4 with 2 seconds left.
Right. I do not.
Like, it's literally impossible. You just tell your team, don't play defense.
I don't get that. That might be.
That's idiocy. There's absolutely zero explanation.
Look, I think John Calipari is a good coach, but that is one of the dumbest things I've ever read.
No question. All right. So real quick before we kind of hit the questions and wrap this thing up, the team's playing tomorrow. And obviously, look, we're going to assume it's Mississippi State. We're going to take Mississippi State, Missouri out of this. I'm not going to make the fans mad day one and pick Mississippi State on this show. Okay. We don't know who's going to play Kentucky. We know it's Arkansas, Ole Miss, and Texas A&M. Which of those other 3/4 teams do you give the best chance of pulling the upset and moving on to the quarters?
I know we just made fun of them, but I actually do kind of like Arkansas's chances.
I picked Arkansas.
Ole Miss. Yeah. Just because like they have been a different team since those first 5 games of the season, and that really dragged them down. Because otherwise, like if they had been playing at this level all year, they might be a 5 seed or a 6 seed, I think. So I think that Arkansas is underseeded in this tournament because of the start they got off to. And Ole Miss is just really inconsistent, in my opinion. So I don't necessarily trust them to go on a deep run this week.
Ole Miss has the look of a team that, like, yeah, they're in. I don't really know that they can change their fate a whole lot this week. And they just kind of go down, and Arkansas probably needs tomorrow a little bit more than they do, in that extra day. I agree. I actually think Arkansas is going to win. Texas needs tomorrow, but I don't trust Texas at all.
Yeah, I just
I think Texas has to win tomorrow to get to have a shot. And I'm not sure it's good enough, but they have to win tomorrow.
Correct. They're playing Texas A&M, and that's never an easy matchup for anybody, just because they're pretty different from everyone else in the league, the way that they crash the offensive glass. So it would be kind of surprising for Texas to come out with the win there.
No question. All right, Billy, if we've got some questions, comments in the chat, whatever, let's spend about the next 5-10 minutes rolling through these, and we'll give a little last update on where things stand for anybody who's not watching before we get out of here for the evening. I know Drew's had a long day. Yeah, how's the weather, Drew? Between the parking lot and the hotel, you've seen a lot.
It's a little warm, right? 72 degrees, clear. It's supposed to get up to 79 tomorrow, according to my phone here. I need the the green screen behind me with the 7-day forecast.
For sure. Yeah.
But
you know what it'll be in Bridgestone Arena? 70 degrees and dry, baby.
Yeah.
Are you going to go over for the early session?
I think so. That's my plan.
Yeah. We had talked about Marcus's question. You absolutely want Mississippi State to work as hard as possible and wear themselves out tonight. Doesn't really appear that's happening. It's still this is the slowest moving game ever, Drew. They played like 3 minutes since we got on here. There's still 13:40 left in that game.
Jeez.
I don't know what's happening.
Timeouts or fouls, one or the other.
Yeah, brutal. As we kind of roll through and get the rest of your questions, do want to plug real quick. Drew had a story. Yeah, Reed, we were just talking about that Calipari thing. Really dumb. Really don't like it at all. Drew had a story this morning. I hope you guys all read about Tamar Bates and Caleb Grill coming back, and we'll plug that and give you guys a little insight on the way out the door. Danny, what's your favorite SEC tournament moment since Mizzou joined? Drew, did you see them? Did they win a tournament game 2 years ago, your first year?
Yeah, they beat Tennessee. They beat Tennessee.
That's right. And then lost
to Alabama.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Those are Brandon Miller and Noah Clowney. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess your favorite SEC tournament moment by default that you've seen is them beating Tennessee.
Even that game though. One. Yeah, Zakai Ziegler tore his ACL, so he wasn't even playing in that game. It just wasn't the same Tennessee team that it was a couple of weeks prior. So the Alabama game was kind of fun, but Mizzou never really got itself into that one. And then the last year, the Georgia game was just kind of a death march. So not a ton of great SEC tournament moments for me yet.
Mine clearly is when 14-seeded Missouri beat 11-seeded Auburn and Kim Anderson's last win at Mizzou. And while he was walking off the court, he was captured by the cameras telling people to shove it up their effing asses. So that was by far the best part.
I could tell you my least favorite SEC tournament moment if you want, which was getting invited on the Paul Feinbaum show last year and then showing up late for my spot and missing it. So that was great. Right. Great time for me.
Real quick, do you know, we're about to Mizzou did get a shoot around in apparently at Mizzou Arena at some point. Do you know the name Marshall Henderson?
I do.
Okay, good. So I was at an SEC tournament game where Marshall Henderson jumped up on the press table, on the scorer's table, when they beat Mizzou. He was a riot, man. So
I love him.
So the question, who shoots more threes tomorrow, Cruz or Bates? It's a good question.
I would make that a pick 'em on the betting line. That's a really good question.
Because I think Cruz is going to play more minutes than he's been playing, because I'm just not sure how much a part of the rotation Trent Pierce is.
Mm-hmm. And we also know,
I get you want to get him playing better, but you're past the point where you can work through it, right? I mean, I think he will get a look. He'll play in the first half, but if it's bad, if he's not doing much, if he's not rebounding and playing defense in his first 3 minutes, that's it, and we're not going to see him again.
Yeah, it's going to be a short leash for Trent for sure, or at least it should be, because this time of year, you've got to have that 8-man rotation nailed down. And if Trent looks like he's not going to be a part of it, you got to move on to the next guy. My point was going to be, even if Jacob Cruz doesn't play a significant more minutes, he's still going to shoot a lot when he's out there. That we know. So I think I would lean Cruz to answer the last question.
80% of the time he touches the ball would be my over-under. Phil in the chat was asking if there's any injury or illness updates. I did just look up the initial availability report. There is nobody listed for Missouri as of 7:10, so 29 minutes ago. Everybody is available. The Mississippi State injury report before tonight's game had Kanye Clary not playing. I don't know anything about him or if that
he's been out all season, so nothing new there.
So, that's where Missouri is at. There's your weather report. If you were traveling to Nashville,
shouts to Billy.
Yeah, Billy just doing work behind the scenes, getting the weather report, and apparently, you're going to be dealing with some thunderstorms if you stick around for the weekend, which we certainly hope you do. Okay, so had mentioned Drew's story this morning and about kind of Tamar Bates, Caleb Grill, the thought process of why they stayed and decided to come back for this year. And Drew, it kind of like it's an appropriate one for this time of year because this is it, man. This is, I mean, not only the last ride for these guys, but the next, 1 day to 3 weeks determines, hey, was this a solid year or was this a really good year? Right.
Yeah.
And that's what we determine over the next few weeks.
Yeah. And that's kind of why I wanted to do the story now too, was because regardless of what does happen in these next couple of weeks, like what Caleb and Tamar and the other returners did by sticking around, I think was pretty special for this team. Because like Gates has said, like a lot of coaches don't get a second chance when they go winless in conference play. And what's been interesting to me all season long is that the same guys who went winless are the ones who had the biggest impact in getting this team back on track. So that was really what stood out to me. That's why I wanted to do it heading into the SEC tournament. But like you said, like Tamar said on Saturday, there's a lot of basketball left to play. And it's not gone as well recently as it was earlier in the year. So this could be like one final stand for them where they prove again, like, no, we've got it.
Yeah, there's at least 80 minutes left to play. We know that.
Right.
We certainly hope there is a lot more. So yeah, Drew will have the preview tomorrow morning, full coverage tomorrow night. I'll jump on here live about 8:30 tomorrow night. Whenever Drew's done with post game, if he's able to, he'll hop on for a few minutes with me from Bridgestone tomorrow night. He will be there as long as Missouri's there. We hope you're not driving back Friday morning, but hey, you never know. Conference tournaments are weird.
I will say this: I packed more to stay for longer than Friday. That's what I should have said.
Okay,
I packed to stay for longer than a day.
Okay, yeah, it would be a bummer if you were on 5 straight live shows wearing that green hoodie. I'd start to ask if at least your hotel had some laundry facilities. I will leave you with Drew. I doubt you've seen this. I'm going to leave Missouri fans with the quote of the day in college basketball. Actually, may be better than John Calipari saying, "Yeah, I tried to lose the game." Following a Big East tournament loss to Butler, former Missouri Tiger Kim English, quote, "Disappointing outcome, but we played true to the pitiful, embarrassing season that we had." It's not ever what you want to hear out of your coach after the last game. Whatever happens tomorrow night, hey guys, it hasn't been pitiful and embarrassing. It might not fulfill your wildest dreams, but it is a step above pitiful and embarrassing. So appreciate you guys hanging out. Appreciate Drew doing this after a long day, Billy helping out, and our friends at Cornerstone Family Medicine. Their information's been run across the bottom of the screen throughout. You can check them out at cornerstonefmclinic.com. Find out about their virtual memberships, in-person availability, things like that. So wrapping this one up tonight. We'll go longer tomorrow night after Mizzou. And let's do one last check. Mississippi State up 23 with 12 minutes to go. I think you can go ahead and write that Mississippi State preview, Drew. I think it's good.
I'm on it.
All right. We'll talk to y'all later.